Just say hi to everybody. Thanks for taking the time to come today. I feel like we're past introductions, but just in case you don't know, I'm Sandy DiCarlo. I'm a PATHe counselor at the University of South Florida, St. Petersburg. I'll let Charlene and Danica introduce themselves.
I'm Charlene Ajamang. I am a PATHe counselor currently at SPC, and my favorite color is aquamarine. There's a bad tree on.
Well, okay then. Hi, I'm Danica Walker. I am also a PATHe counselor at USF St. Petersburg campus, and I didn't think we were sharing things about ourselves, but I'm from Cleveland.
What did you say?
I'm from Cleveland.
You're from Cleveland, going home for Thanksgiving. Awesome. I'll let the students, you guys can introduce yourselves and just tell us, I don't know, something you're doing this week. Eka, you're the top picture on my camera, so I'm gonna say if you could go first.
Okay. Hi everyone. My name's Eka. I'm gonna be doing a lot of homework this week. I have a lot of assignments due.
I bet you're not the only one. Daniela? Oh, I think you're muted. Oh, okay. That I remember. It's very soft. Yeah. That's okay.
We're also going to be doing a lot of homework. I don't know if I said that. I was trying to listen. I think I caught it, and then I was like, okay.
Yeah. Homework. Hannah, what are you up to?
Yeah. Okay. Hi, I'm Hannah. I have a lot of projects I need to do and get a jump start on. So a lot of prep work this week.
Summer, what are you up to?
Hi, I'm Summer, and this weekend I'm going to have some friends over. We're going to have like a Friendsgiving thing.
Oh, nice. Those are fun. Those are fun.
I know Alice is here still, because remember Allison is here.
Mm-hmm.
And
Michaela.
And then Michaela.
Yeah. Allison, I know you said your mic was off. Do you want to just type in? What are you up to this week?
I am also doing a lot of studying for both my anatomy classes, and I also have some exams coming, and I see Bree just jumped in. Hi, Bree. You are in right as we are introduced, or we were just getting done with introductions. If you want to introduce yourself to the rest of the group and let us know what you're doing this week.
What I'm doing this week?
Mm-hmm.
My name's Bree, and this week I'm probably not doing anything interesting. Oh, that question caught me off guard. Just working in school, like.
That's right. The majority of answers before you jumped in was studying.
Yeah.
And Michaela.
Let's go. Hey, Michaela, we haven't heard from you yet. I just want to see if your mic's working. If not, oh, there you go. She's studying as well. Okay, lots of studiers. All right, well, thanks for coming today. Before we get started, I wanted to just check with everybody. What do you think career exploration is? I mean, we pretty much just sent a shout out to everybody to come, and we're going to talk about career exploration. But a lot of people have different ideas exactly what that is. Any thoughts or comments? What do you think we mean by career exploration? And again, feel free to type it or share it.
I thought, like, personally, I thought, like, was it going to be like an individual, like we each go through and like talk about like what our career like goals were and like with you guys?
Okay. Okay. Kind of, sort of. It's going to lead to that. Anybody else have any other ideas?
It's like pathways regarding or like relating to your major career pathways. Yeah.
Okay. Well, we're gonna talk about how to explore things. So I'm actually going to start. I'm going to show you a little video that talks about why it's important to do exploration. So hang on one second. gonna try to share my screen for the first time. And just show you a little video. Can you guys see a little video?
Mm-hmm.
Awesome. It even has it on the right screen.
You might fantasize that identifying your dream job will be easy. You might take a test to help you understand what you're good at and enjoy. The test works like a magic sorting hat. The best career pops out, you get a job, and are happy for the rest of your life. Or you might take the idealized approach to your career exploration. You'd meet with a career counselor and complete a self-assessment to identify the skills, tasks, and values you'd want in a job. Multiple possibilities come out. To narrow it down, you'd read about those careers, talk to professionals, fall in love with one career, and go get your dream job. This approach is linear and logical, but not usually what happens. In reality, career exploration is messy, laborious, and iterative. Let's look at a typical case. A postdoc named John, ready to move on, but didn't know what he wanted to do. John met with a career counselor, took a self-assessment test, and a whole universe of career possibilities emerged. John narrowed his choices to 3 and began investigating jobs as a management consultant, medical science liaison, and medical writer. He did some reading on consulting and decided that consultants travel too much, so he eliminated that career. Next was medical science liaison. He liked what he read. He would be scientifically engaged while working with scientists and physicians. John talked to a medical science liaison and liked most of what he heard, except that there are advancement ceilings, so he crossed that off the list. On to medical writing. Like before, John read and spoke with people. He liked what he learned. He especially liked that he wouldn't need previous experience. He was tired of his postdoc and ready to make money. Over the course of a year, John applied for a ton of jobs, but got no interviews. Confused, he talked to more people. One told him that the field had changed. Now, you needed experience. So he took a $2,500 regulatory writing course that would make him competitive. Unfortunately, he hated it. By now, John was very frustrated and told his sorry story to a classmate in the writing course. She suggested something different: patent agent. It seemed to involve the kinds of skills and tasks that John liked. This was an option he hadn't even considered. So we started the whole process over, reading and talking to people. This time, he also tested the work with a part-time internship at his university during his postdoc. He loved the work. He wrote reports and met several patent agents and lawyers. One of them suggested that he take the patent bar. He did, and he passed. John applied for jobs and found one quickly. These days, he's happily employed as a senior patent agent at a biotech company. Career exploration is complicated, messy, and hard work. So start early. Career exploration takes time. Don't rely on a single anecdote. Get multiple data points. Embrace serendipity, because career leads can come from unexpected places. Try out the work in a low-risk way and take heart. Eventually, everyone gets there.
Okay, I am a firm believer of borrowing other people's stuff, so I thought that that was a pretty cute little video that just showed how important it is to really research early. So I don't know if you guys caught the fact that he was a postdoc student, which basically means he had gotten his doctorate degree and then started to figure out what he wanted to do. So that's a lot of time and money invested to not know exactly where you're gonna go or what you want to do. I know when I've met, one-on-one with a lot of you, I'm always say you might be absolutely perfect for a job or a career that you don't even know exists. There's so many jobs that are out there now that didn't exist 10 years ago. I'm sure COVID and the pandemic and everything is going to create a whole new slew of jobs. So it's really important to start thinking about this as early as possible. So think about that example. Think about what John did. He started to, first he got his degree, and then he went out and met with a career counselor, and they did some testing and things like that. He took it in a very linear sequence. And it said he chose 3 things that he was interested in, and then he started to look at those and eliminate them based on the travel required or the lack of opportunity for growth and things like that. So then he picked one he liked and realized he needed more experience. So he spent money on that class, and then only to realize he didn't even like it. And then somebody in the class by chance mentioned a patent agent. Now, how many of you even know that that job exists, to be a patent agent? Does anybody have any idea what it is? See, and that's the thing, he probably didn't either. A patent agent typically works for a large company that invents things, whether it's products or processes or something, and then they have someone go and patent that idea so nobody else can steal it. So most major companies who are producing new materials or new processes have some sort of patent agent or a patent department within it. But it is something, unless you are involved in some kind of activity like that, you'd have no idea what that does. So when I talk about career exploration with our PATHe students, I'm really trying to show you how you can get started on this journey now, because it's going to be a research project. It is not something, I wish that I could say, we have this magic machine that you put your hand in and we can tell you exactly what you want to do and what you want to be. That's not how it works. There's a lot of tools that we can use with you, and you can make use of career resources both at SPC and at USF. So by the time you do graduate, you guys know exactly what you want to do. So there were a few things that, the example shown. Like, first of all, he talked to a lot of professionals in the area. There's nothing more valuable than talking to people who actually do what you're thinking of doing, to find out what are the pros, what are the great things about this job, and then what are the cons. Can I handle the bad part of this job? Joining professional organizations. Almost every skill out there has some sort of student chapter or professional organization that maybe meets monthly, maybe they go for coffee or something like that, and they just share ideas. These people love to talk about what they do. So you can get connected with that. Once you've really solidified some of the things you want to do, you might be able to volunteer with people that do it. You might be able to get an internship, maybe take a semester and intern and meet people, maybe even get a part-time job there. But you can definitely connect to figure out if this is what I want to do, or even more important, if it's not what you want to do. Because if you find out that your career goal is something that you really don't want to pursue, we need some time to figure out what it is you do want to do. So these are all things that you guys can start doing even before you start college, but there's nothing saying, oh, you have to have 25 classes before I start exploring careers. The earlier you do it, the better position you're going to be upon graduation, and the more professional people you're going to meet, and they're going to be key later on. So you're going to see some of that today. So any questions so far? How many of you actually know for sure what you want to do? Any of you? Hannah and Bree, do you want to share?
Personally, like I said, like in the last meeting, I switched. Originally, I was going to nursing because that was something that has, steady income. My family is like approving it. But as I started to take more classes, I started leaning more towards like graphic design and like digital media and stuff. So I like it a lot more. So.
Thanks for sharing. Hannah, do you want to share your goals?
Yeah. So I'm going towards a degree in psychology, so my major is psychology and my minor is interpreting. And I just to add interpreting because I've been doing sign language since my sophomore year of high school, and it's something that I just genuinely enjoy and didn't want to leave behind. So in the beginning, I was unsure if I was ever going to make it set in stone or not. And then I met with Sandy in the beginning, or maybe the middle of October, I think is when we met.
Mm-hmm.
And she helped me realize like how important that is to me. And we talked about all the options. So yeah, those are my goals.
That's great. And everybody has a different story. So never compare yourself. Like there are people that have known what they wanted to do since they were 5 years old. And there are, I'm still trying to figure out what my next step's going to be, because I constantly.
Knows. Sorry,
What's that?
Michaela also knows what she wants to do.
Oh, awesome. Michaela, do you want to share what's your long-term plan?
For a second.
Yep. She's typing. Pressure's on Michaela. While she's typing, oh, there you go. Develop video games. Okay. So that's interesting too, developing video games. There's so many different components of developing video games. That's fine. Don't worry about it, Michaela. So there's so many different components. So that's why this exploration and really looking into it is important. So the goal today is to just realize that really doing this early, and we realize that it's a challenge because you do have homework and studying and everything going on, but we want you to keep it in the back of your mind when you have your when you're surfing on the internet, or whether you're just, playing around. These are the kinds of things that you can spend some time maybe doing some research in. So I want to show you a couple of tools. And we also have a guest today. I think she signed in. Jennifer Johnston is from Career Services in St. Pete College. And so I'm going to show you, hey, Jennifer, thanks for coming today. I'm going to show you some of my favorite tools, and then Jennifer's going to show you the resources available at SPC too. And so you've got all kinds of tools at your fingertips, so just utilize them throughout the time. And we know it's going to be different for everybody. That's one of the biggest challenges with PATHe, is to talk to all of you about one subject at the same time, because you're all not thinking about it at the same time. So when we're done today, I'm going to follow up with an email and send you the links to everything that I'm going to show you today. And then know that you can reach out to any one of us to do kind of a one-on-one session and look even deeper if you like. So I am going to share my screen again. And the first tool that I want to show you all is called the Occupational Outlook Handbook. Now, the Occupational Outlook Handbook is created by the Bureau of Labor and Statistics. And Charlene, I'm just going to remind you, I cannot see the chat. So if anybody has questions, let me know. But the Occupational Outlook is a great tool if you have certain careers in mind. Now, when you go onto the main page, you will see that there are occupational groups, so you can go a little bit deeper, but I'm going to just show you how this helps if you have career choices that you're thinking about. So I sent out a survey before we did the workshop today, and I have been sent a few different occupations. So I am a couple of people are interested in graphic design, like you, Bree. So I'm gonna click on that, and we're gonna pull up graphic designer. Maybe. Okay, so the nice thing about this site is it gives you a full report about a specific occupation. So when you go onto the main page, it's going to first give you a summary about the pay. It's going to give you a little synopsis about what graphic designers do, what kind of environment you'd be working in, how to become. So this is kind of a very small piece of the entire report. You can see at the top, there are tabs and it goes into much detail. So when I click on what they do, it's going to show you that most graphic designers are going to meet with clients. They're going to use digital illustration and photo editing software. They're going to create designs and concepts to present to your client. It'll go through, let's see, software, and go through. So this tells you what they do. Then it'll go through the work environment, and it looks like about 21% are actually self-employed and they will create their own environment. And then you've got 10% that go for design services and so on. Work schedules, it'll talk about what type of schedule you have. How to become one gets into the education required. So it says most graphic designers do have a bachelor's degree, and then it goes into other areas like licenses. Many occupations require that you have a state license, and sometimes when there's a state license involved, there may be things like background checks and things like that. Talks about how to advance. If you're a graphic designer, what are some of the careers that go above that? And then it talks about the important qualities. You know, do you have analytical skills? Do I have strong artistic ability? Can you communicate well? A lot of people don't really connect communication with graphic design, but you not only have to create, but you have to explain and sell your designs. Computer skills, creativity, and time management skills are also really key. So it's important to know these things in case you're lacking in one of those skills. Those are things that you can work on. It does have a pay tab. I'm not as crazy about this one as another tool I'm going to show you, but it does give you, you have to keep in mind that this is kind of a national average. And those of us that live in Florida know that Florida sometimes is a little different than the national average, but it does have it there. It looks like it shows you areas where the earnings are a little bit higher than other areas. The job outlook, that gives you an idea of whether this certain profession is growing or if it's shrinking. So that'll give you an idea of how competitive the job market may be. So again, the more people that you know, the more professional connections you have, the better chances you will have of being employed in the area. Breaks down the state and local data, so you can go in here and look specifically at Florida. And then my favorite tab is actually the similar occupations. So when you click on that, it's going to show you other professions that are very, very similar to the one that you're looking at. So other than graphic design, someone might consider being an art director or a craft and artist, desktop publishers, drafters, industrial designers. So all of these occupations have something connected, or they have very similar skills needed as a graphic designer. And it's nice because you can go over here and you can see that the entry-level education differs with each one of these as well. So sometimes that's really important too. I've had people think that they want to be a physician, but they really don't want to go through all that school. So they can look up physician, look at similar occupations, and possibly find maybe a healthcare professional that only requires an associate's degree rather than a doctorate. And then it also gives you a median pay. So you can go through here and give yourself some really good information to look further. And then of course you can click on that profession as well. So Occupational Outlook Handbook is really, really helpful in looking up full reports, especially in things that maybe you don't even know what it is. So let's go back. And as I said, there are different ways you can go through occupational groups. If there's something that you're thinking of, but you don't have a very specific job title, they always have featured occupations, or you can just go through the alphabetical index. Let's see. Another profession that I was asked, oops, sorry, I'm spinning it. So as I said, if we go through okay. So we do have a lot of students that are interested in the medical profession. Some of them know they're fine with the amount of school and the amount of money involved, and they plan on going. But then I have a lot of other students who maybe, I don't know, like Bree shared, you take your first nursing course and think, maybe this isn't what I want. Well, to be a physician, you've got to have some really high levels, maths and sciences. And I'm working with one student who has gone through, is about to take calculus, is going through organic chemistry, and is now really thinking, you know what, I don't know if this is what I want to do. So we use the Occupational Outlook Handbook and basically went through all the tabs, but then really focused on the similar occupations. And so he looked into chiropractor, dentist, nurse, anesthetist, optometrist, and went through all these categories and actually ended up, now he's very interested in chiropractor school. You'd still have to have a doctoral degree, excuse me, I can't speak today, but it's not as lengthy as being an actual physician. So there were certain things that appealed to him about being a chiropractor. He started shadowing a chiropractor and did some informational interviews, and is now very excited about this new choice. So you can see that there's a lot in common between a physician and a chiropractor, but until he really talked to somebody and explained what they do day to day and the amount of schooling that was involved, really couldn't make a good choice. So these, again, are tools to help you figure out exactly what it is you want to do. Now, another tool that I use with students, very similar to the Occupational Outlook Handbook, is ONET. And it's kind of like when you're taking standardized tests, some people like the SAT, some people like the ACT. I find both the Occupational Outlook Handbook and ONET are very, very helpful tools, but I use them in different ways. With ONET, I'll show you some of my favorite things. So again, you can I find that just putting in a keyword, and I'm going to use graphic design again. Pair. For me, that's the easiest way to do it. If I know what I'm looking for, I just type in the keyword. There are other ways to search too, and we'll go back to that. But if I click in graphic design, it's going to give me a long list of occupations that are connected with graphic design. When I go in and click specifically on the graphic designer, it also is going to give me a lot of information. One of the things I really like with ONET is that right at the top, it's going to give you a sample of job titles. This is really helpful when you're looking for a job, because not every position is going to call itself graphic designer. So when you're out on the job hunt, you may want to look for artist positions, designer positions. You've got graphic artist, graphic designer, online producer, production artist, publications designer. So those are all different terms that may be connected to a similar job. So this line is really helpful. It goes through, again, tasks involved, technology skills needed, specific knowledge and skills and abilities, work activities, and so on. Now down here, it shows you the majority of graphic designers do have bachelor's degrees, And you can click here to find schools that offer graphic design degrees. You can also look at certifications and apprenticeship opportunities. We're probably going to talk a little bit later about the Holland Code. I don't know, Jennifer may be mentioning it, but it also shows you here, the Holland Code is something where you can identify your top 3 interests. So with a graphic designer, they find that students who are artistic, realistic, and enterprising tend to do really well in this occupation. So you can actually take a career assessment test and find out what your top 3 interests are. Work styles, work values. So it's common sense that a graphic designer may need attention to detail. They need to be innovative. They need to be dependable. Deadlines are crucial when you're a graphic designer. You have to have the initiative to be a self-starter. And you have to really want to complete things and master tasks. You have to be very driven and achievement oriented. It shows your work values. And again, we've got this related occupations. Now, I told you when we were in the Occupational Outlook Handbook, I wasn't as crazy about their wage detail. But I like this because you can go in and you can select a state, or you can actually put in your zip code. So if we go in and just choose Florida and zip code, we can get the local wages here in the Tampa, St. Pete, Clearwater area, as opposed to the state of Florida, as opposed to the United States. So you can see the average wage for a graphic designer nationally is $52,110. For the state of Florida, it's $46,530. And then here in Tampa, St. Pete, it's a little less than that, 43. Now you have to keep in mind that is the mean. That is taking the absolute lowest salary and the highest salary and averaging it. So a lot of things will come into play with that. Your experience, your talent, the type of employer, whether you're self-employed. With this particular job, there's a lot of variables involved in that, but it does give you kind of a snapshot of what you can expect as a graphic designer. And then if you were looking to go into a different area, you can look in that state as well. Let's say you're going to go to New York. So you can see the average is quite a bit more in New York City. A lot of times you'll find that your salary is going to be adjusted with the cost of living. So it costs a lot more to live in New York than it does in Florida. So these are some great tools that you can research different positions. Any questions so far?
None in the
Gosh. Okay. All right. So the next thing I just want to talk about is, okay, what if you don't know? You know, we definitely have a lot of PATHe students who thought they wanted to do a certain major or a certain career and then have decided, Bree, again, I don't mean to pick on you, but I appreciate you sharing the story that you thought you were going to go in one direction and then you decided you were going to go in another direction, which is great. You had that other plan. A lot of students may take their first, I don't know, psychology class and then realize, okay, psychology is not what I want at all, and they don't have a second choice. So sometimes you want to explore a little bit, and usually, you know, a PATHe counselor or career counselor is going to talk to you about, well, what is it that appealed to you with that area in the first place, whether it's the career or the major. And then we're going to dig into some other tools. As I said, I mentioned the Holland Code. SPC has a great assessment called Focus 2 that can pull your interests and your values and help you figure out what you might want to do. Maybe you have a specific major or subject that you're really, really interested in, but you have no idea what kind of job can I do? And that's where these websites, I pulled up this one, it's called What Can I Do with This Major? This one is put out by the University of Tennessee, but there's a lot of them out there. And these are great to really look into just different things. Oh, great, it's not going to let me. Okay, I was on it before I started. Hold on one second. So, we'll do what? That particular one, I think we have to have a subscription to go in, which I think I must have timed out. Let's look into it. But I'll send you guys the link. Oh, this is embarrassing. All right, somebody hum a tune. Hang on one second. A lot of people are very surprised with the options that they can do with a certain major. As you can see, there's a lot of majors listed, and that sometimes is a struggle when you're trying to figure out what major you want to study or what career option you want to go, because a lot of people see it very limited. I have a student who is very interested in history, but does not want to teach at all. So we use this, What Can I Do with a Major site, to really look into, well, what are all the things I can do with a history degree? And the fact is there's a lot more. If you go in, you can actually work for local and state government. And so these sites, and it's funny, this is the same site I was on before, but now it's taken me a different way. So looking at the different area that you would like to work in, and then it breaks down into different employers and certain strategies that you can use to get into this area. So a history major could actually work for state and local government. They could work for the federal government. They could get involved in politics, the law, be involved with a nonprofit agency, information science, education, business, the media. So there's a lot of different areas that a lot of people probably never thought of going into with a history major, because typically you're thinking education. I'm going to study history, I'm going to teach, but there are aspects of the courses within a history major that can be useful for all these different areas. So it's nice to be able to go in and investigate them and looking at the strategies, because taking a history major and, like it says here, maybe doing some research in the community, developing a network of contacts, completing an internship. The fact is, by your experience with your education, you can open a lot more opportunities. Let's see. We are going to go back. I know I've got a few art students.
Can I share something real quick?
Please.
Oh, can you hear me okay?
I can hear you very quietly, but go ahead. I understand you.
I'm trying to talk into my computer. I remember the first time I met with you, I told you that I wanted to do something with veterinarian.
Mm-hmm.
And I completely changed that around and I chose business, and I started choosing my classes. SPC because in the summer I started doing a real estate course, and I realized that was something I was much more interested in versus like medicine, even though I still love animals. But I thought like maybe business would respond better with that because I don't want to put all my eggs in one basket. So like real estate is something that I can do on the side, but I also want to get a degree as well. And I chose business, but I don't exactly know, what direction of business I want to go in.
Okay, that's a great example. Let's see. Okay, I am still sharing, aren't I? That's weird. Did I stop sharing now, Charlene?
Yeah, you're good now.
Okay, thanks. Okay, that's a great example because business is so broad, and we do definitely have a lot of business students with PATHe. So I would suggest you work with one of us to use these tools to drill down and see, because we would want to have a conversation about what is it with real estate that you really enjoyed, and then we would look at some of those similar occupations that might involve some of those same skills that appeal to you with real estate. A lot of people look at a career or even a major with such limited scope, and there's so much more to it. I would say the majority of jobs out there require a certain level of degree, but not a particular subject. So in your case, Daniela, if we're looking at business, we would really want to look at all aspects of business, and I would probably suggest doing some sort of internship or part-time job, maybe as soon as possible. I know Jennifer's going to talk about how to look for internship opportunities, but that's a great way to really examine where you might want to go, because there's so many skills that are the same, whether you're going into, say, real estate or maybe insurance or maybe advertising. There are aspects that just follow into each area. So I would want you to get some experience to find out what industry makes you really happy and gets you excited about it as well. So that's something you and I can work on.
Oh, thank you. That's something that would really help me.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's why today's workshop is really to just show you all the different tools that are out there, and then to connect with us so we can work on them together, whether it's your PATHe counselor or a career specialist, to really dig through, because I would love for all of you to meet a professional in an area that you want to do. It may be more than one, because everybody's got different personalities, you've got different employers. Get to know out there, and then maybe start working in the area, as I said, even if it's a volunteer position, or maybe just taking on a project, or maybe it's a club at the school. So you would want to definitely get involved. So by the time you've graduated, that job offer is waiting for you. You know, that's how we want it to work for our PATHe students. And we're here to help you meet the community members and the professionals to do it. I know I've talked one-on-one with some of you about starting this process, and it is going to be long-term. You know, it's not going to be something that happens overnight, but it's something that as partners, students and PATHe counselors can stay on top of it, so we can take you from one step to the next step. Okay. Any other questions or comments?
Jennifer did put in the Focus 2 assessment in the chat, so if you want to take it, that link is there as well. But of course, we'll send it out afterwards as well.
Yeah, that's great. Focus 2, anybody, I know I've talked to several of you. Has anyone done the Focus 2 assessment? Not on this call. Okay. I know several of the PATHe students have. It is not anything you have to study for, so you don't have to worry about it. Taking it maybe over the holiday break would be great. It just asks you a lot of very basic questions that you just answer with your immediate your gut instinct. Do I like to build kitchen cabinets? Don't get caught up with whether you know how or not. Does that sound like something fun? Or does that sound like something terrible? You know, do you like to work outside or do you like to work inside? Do you like to be around people? Do you like to be by yourself? Simple questions like that, but you'd be surprised. It can give you kind of an outlook on what path you want to start going down. I always share a story. Someone I used to work with, she and I did Focus 2 together, and it came, one of the suggested occupations that came up was a funeral director. And this person was very surprised because that was the last thing she ever thought about being, was a funeral director. But after looking at why it said funeral director and the skills involved and the talents involved, it turned out that she wanted to be an event planner or a corporate trainer. And when you look at it, I mean, a funeral director is basically an event planner. You know, it's kind of a sad event, but attention to detail, good communication with people, be able to make all the deadlines and listening to all the detail. So it basically took a lot of those same talents and skills, but into a more appealing industry or something for her. So she's currently a corporate trainer, so she sets up events and trainings for a large corporation. So there's, you know, sometimes you just got to dig a little bit and use yourself to really find out, you know, what's going to be that place for me. Another thing that I think is very important is the employer itself. You know, let's take a job like accounting, where you're just figuring out the bottom line with numbers. Well, I think being an accountant for a financial company is probably going to be different than being an accountant for a nonprofit organization or an accountant for a hospital. Or, you know, so you still are taking that basic information and skills that you have, but you're going to find an environment where you're really going to blossom and where you really want to be. So those are the kinds of things that we want to help you figure out early enough so you don't have to worry about it after you graduate. You know, when we hear, I don't know, do any of you hear stories about, I usually hear it with people my age that, you know, my son or daughter got their degree and they haven't been able to find a job and that degree was a waste of money and things like that. Well, 9 times out of 10, it's because they didn't even think about careers until after they graduated. So the key is you start looking into these things while you're going to school and you're not going to have that issue. Okay?
I was one of those people who I started off, I wanted to do business and I did business. So I did international business, supply chain operations management, because I was like, I just want to travel. International business, you would travel, you get to work with people. Turns out I just liked the international part, and I didn't discover that more until after graduating. But it led me into like working with students internationally, which made me like, I enjoy working with students in new places and things like that. So it's like I kind of took one of those routes after graduating and saying, yeah, actually, this isn't for me. This is actually, that over there is for me. And it was just like by, you know, after, you know, graduating, having to talk with people and kind of put myself in different experiences, it's like, I could have, if I would have done this a little bit earlier, maybe I would have majored in something more related to this field right now. But at the end of the day, it is a tool that I was just like, okay, when I had this epiphany, I was just like, okay, what do I want to do? What can I do? Let's look and see. And we were back at square one. But I didn't have a path counselor and all of these tools, even though they have been around for a while, I didn't have it all in one place at the time that I needed it. So it's really great that you guys get to have Sandy and everybody help with that. That's what we're here for, by the way. So.
Yeah, it's hard to do it by yourself. You almost know yourself too well. You know, you're gonna talk yourself out of something, or and that's why sometimes close friends and family aren't the best people to go to, because they know you too well. You know, they're the first ones that might say, oh, no, you know, you're good at this and not that, or don't do this because I had a bad experience. So sometimes working with a counselor that doesn't know you that well is better, because we're just going to give you a more objective opinion. So I agree. I'm going to give you guys a challenge when we're done, but we'll hold up from that. I'm going to let Jennifer. Jennifer, are you good to present? Awesome. I want to introduce Jennifer Johnston. Jennifer's a career specialist at the Seminole campus of SPC. I don't know if any of you have met Jennifer before, but she's going to talk to you. I mean, I've mentioned like getting connected and professionals, and you're all probably thinking, how do I do that? So Jennifer's going to share some more information, and there are career specialists on most of the SPC campuses. So they're much more skilled at this than I am. So I will let Jennifer take over, and she's got some really good information to share.
Thank you all for having me. My name is Jennifer Johnston, and I'm the career specialist over at the Seminole campus. So if you live anywhere around and ever want to make an appointment with me, I will leave my contact information. I'll just put it in there right now, actually, just that way I don't forget. I'll just put my email in there real quick. So if after this you say, hey, I want to make an appointment and I know I'm going to put it off if I don't make one now, you can email me right after. You can email me as I'm presenting, and we can schedule a time to meet and talk about things. So yes, I included that PDF. It's a how to find Focus 2. So that'll just lead you through how to go from your MySPC login to find it, and then you can take it. There are 5 different assessments. So there are 5 different categories that you're going to operate under and take those 5 assessments. And then there's actually going to be a little button that says combine assessments. Those 5 assessments will be all combined together. And then with your interests, personality, skills, those are all going to be combined together, leisure, activities, and then it'll let you know what jobs might be best for you. Sometimes they won't be able to match all 5 assessments. So for me, it'll only bring up occupations for 4 of my combined assessments, but that's okay. So that's really normal. If you're getting 3 or less, you might want to try taking some of the assessments over again. So just be more pointed. If you really wouldn't like, what was your example you used, Sandy? If you really wouldn't like, there was some great example you gave. Oh, you're muted.
The funeral director?
It was one of the ones from Focus 2, but she gave a really specific example of something that I'm pretty sure is one of the Focus 2 questions. That's something you really wouldn't enjoy doing, like digging holes or
building
whatever.
kitchen cabinets.
Building kitchen cabinets, exactly. And it's not more surrounded by what you have done, but just would you enjoy doing it? So I'm going to share my screen for a little bit, and I'm going to get talking to you about internships and different types of experiences. I realize you all don't know me very well, so just a little bit about myself. I am a current PhD student at USF pursuing higher education administration. Say that 10 times fast because it's a mouthful, but I got my master's from UF in mental health and school counseling. So I always loved counseling. I knew I always wanted to help students, and I love what I do. I had a way more straight career path than I think a lot of people do, but that's because I did a lot of stuff that Sandy was talking about to figure out and make an informed decision as to what I wanted to do. I didn't go in blindly. So I think that talking to a lot of people, having a lot of mentors, and having a lot of those conversations before I picked this specific job was very valuable to my learning experience. So just wanted to put that out there. It is not letting me view anything. Okay, so is it showing my PowerPoint now?
It's coming up. We can see your, let's see. Huh, no, it just has your initials.
Okay.
So it went into like share screen mode, but then it just showed your initials. I know you guys usually use Zoom, right? Are you familiar with Teams?
I have used it, and I'm just looking for my specific. It's not coming up as one of the.
Do you want me to? You had emailed me your PowerPoint? Do you want me to show
Yeah,
it?
if you
And
don't
you can
mind.
tell
It's
me
just
when
not
to
coming
change?
up as one of the things I can share, which is strange.
That's all right. Deal with technical issues all the time.
Oh, yeah, that's the first time this has ever done this. Is it sharing? Wait, it might share it now.
Something's happening. Hold on, it's spinning.
It actually had me upload it,
Yeah.
which is weird, and then I can navigate the slides within Teams. I've never done this before. Okay, well,
Yeah, we're
all
good.
learning. Technology is amazing and beautiful. So, networking 101. So, you might have an idea of what you want to do, or you really are just trying to figure out what options could be out there. And the first step is definitely making those connections. So, we're going to talk a little bit about informational interviewing, job shadowing, service learning. Some of these things Sandy touched upon, like professional associations. So I might not dwell as much on some things as I do others. Volunteering and internships, etc. So what are the differences between the three? So I feel that the best would be a job shadow or service learning where you actually get to experience going into one of these opportunities. So an informational interview would be either you make contact with someone or you find someone that has a mutual contact that you can reach out to and interview them either on the phone or on Zoom or maybe in person for, it's usually not longer than 30 minutes. And you'll have a conversation with them, ask them maybe what they like about their job, what their own career journey was, what are some of the challenges, the good, the bad, and the ugly, some of the hardest things that they've had to do in their job, some of the things that makes their job the most fulfilling. So you're just asking a lot of those questions that help you gain clarity as to what the job looks like, what it entails, and maybe even what their personality style is. And you might get a feel of that from the conversation, but also from how the person views the job, if they want to stay in that job forever, or if they want to do something else with it. So they might just, be able to guide you in a better direction of, this is what I did wrong. Maybe you should try doing this instead, or I did this and it was really helpful. And so that can be such a guiding factor. A job shadow, a bit different. You'll actually be able to see what the person is doing in the job. I don't know if anyone ever did take your child to work day, if you were a child that participated in that, but that is a job shadow. So you have done already a job shadow and you didn't even know it. I'll tell students, a lot of you have already experienced this at a young age. And so that was really cool for me. My mom was a teacher and I always loved doing that because I just got to go to school and watch her teach students and help her grade papers. And I actually really enjoyed it. And I decided I really liked teaching students, and that was just something that I enjoyed thoroughly. So usually this is a half day to a whole day, but it's really going to be dependent on whatever your employer can do depending on their schedule. So some people will just do a couple-hour job shadow. Some people will do a whole day or even a couple of days depending on what exactly the experience is that you want to gain out of it. So you'll have that conversation prior to the shadow. Service learning is really unique in the sense that you won't be presented with a service learning opportunity unless you have a course that requires service learning. So there are certain courses where you'll have to complete X amount of hours of service at X, Y, and Z facilities. So they might be experiential activities and you might have to write a paper about them. They might be volunteer work. So I've done a lot of different types of service learning, whether that's presenting a lesson plan to students when I was getting my degree in teaching, to attending AA meetings for an addictions class I took in my mental health counseling. So just depending on whatever field you're going to go into, service learning can look really different. But the great thing about service learning is you are getting in there. You're really understanding what it looks like. And to me, some of those experiences, you might not remember the paper you wrote, or you might not remember the textbook that you read, but you're going to remember those service learning experiences 100%. And service learning can also lead to volunteer internships, things like that. I think I had 4 or 5 students that ended up with jobs because I gave them an assignment to do service learning at either a school or a daycare facility, and they ended up with a part-time job because of it. So I think that that's pretty great. So internships versus volunteering. We want to make sure that we get the boundaries straight, because to me, a lot of people meld the two together, or they might not know which they're doing. And I think especially when students are just trying to find experience off the bat, they're so hungry to just get in there and do something that they don't really have this conversation with their supervisors or the company about what exactly does each mean. So I think first and foremost, it's really important to know that in an internship, the person that is benefiting most is you. So the internship is meant to benefit you and grow you as an individual and the skills and the projects that you want to work on. So you'll come with some goals in hand, or you'll have that conversation with your supervisor, and they might have some expectations for you as well. So say you wanted to become a computer programmer. Well, they're going to make sure that you become sufficient and knowing whatever languages of computer programming that they use. And so that might be some goals that they have, but you might want to learn something additional. So it's always good to communicate that early on with your supervisor. Hey, these are things I want to get involved in. And even in a job, just communicating those things first and foremost can be really important. With volunteering, it's a little bit different. Who you're benefiting is the organization first and foremost. So you're doing work that they want you to do. With internship, it's pretty set. I try to say, think of an internship as a job. A lot of times it is paid too. So whatever hours you're committing to and whatever time frame you're committing to, it is like a job. You stick to those hours, and unless you're sick or you have some type of emergency where you can't go in, you treat it like a job. Volunteering, depending on the place that you're volunteering at, is a little bit more flexible in nature. So say one week you could do 10 hours and the next week you could only do 5. Typically supervisors are really, really welcoming to volunteers, and they can be a little more flexible with you. And a lot of times for internship, you have a minimum number of hours you have to meet to begin with. And so it's always important to stay on track with that too, just to make sure that you don't fall far behind, because you don't want to have to repeat or do an additional semester internship, because then you have to, especially if it's for a program, then you have to pay for the course again, take internship again, and then that can become a nightmare. So you definitely want to make sure that if you make that commitment, that you do. A lot of students will ask me, hey Jen, I really liked my internship with A, B, or C. Can I keep interning there? Well, that's going to be dependent on the employer and dependent on the program that you're in. So I would say it depends. So it really does depend on how much time and effort they might be putting into you, and they might said, okay, we can make a commitment for spring, but for summer we have all these deadlines coming up, and it's going to be really hard to kind of mentor you and teach you at the same time that we're trying to work on this. Maybe we can do half the time that you did in the spring during the summer, and you only come in 2 days a week instead of 4. They might be flexible with you like that. With other internships, it's not possible to extend. So I know, at least for counseling, if we didn't have a supervisor and we were enrolled in a supervisory course, we could not intern, because we're dealing with clients and we're dealing with confidentiality and supervision and really the law. So in a lot of fields, it's not possible. So just really, really depends. Okay, you touched on professional associations. I think the only thing I would say about this is I loved being a part of, when I was in my master's, the American Counseling Association, because there's a lot of benefits that these organizations can provide that you might not even know about. So we actually had to have insurance as therapists in training, and that insurance was provided free through our American Counseling Association membership. So a lot of times there will be little perks that you don't even know. And I think insurance would have normally been like $300 a year, but the American Counseling Association membership was only $100. So I saved myself $200 and got a free membership to the Counseling Association. So there's a lot of little things that can be intertwined. If you want to go to conferences, if you're a member of the association, conferences are substantially cheaper to go to if you're a member.
Jennifer,
so just things to keep in mind.
Yeah. Sorry, I don't mean to interrupt. Can you share, how did you first get connected with the association?
So the American Counseling Association is really, really close and kindred with the University of Florida. I mean, I think that we've constantly had at least one professor that serves on some type of committee or advisory role. So a lot of times it really, really helps to reach out to your faculty if you're involved in a certain program and saying, what are some of the professional associations the College of Business works with? And then they might have a few in mind that they work with. So it's really great when you have a university that's already partnering with a professional association, because not only is there more opportunities that are presented, but a lot of times there's also like money that could be hidden somewhere in some kind of application you fill out. And I got to go to Georgia for free, completely paid for by the university, and got to go to that conference, and my travel and food and membership was completely free. So I mean, you really can't beat that. So a lot of times there's money a lot of times within like student government and organizations that work with professional associations and colleges. So it never hurts to ask. So you have different associations. They typically have some honor societies. So those are more generalized to any major. But then within specific programs, I'm sure that they partner with both national and state associations. So we also have like the Florida Counseling Association. So I don't know per specifics, but Daniela, if you want to message me, we can definitely make an appointment and do some research together and try to find some associations if you're looking to get involved. But yes, typically they're more program specific. So resources to reach out, how, where, what, and who is in my network. So you want to always go down this road. And I know it looks a little bit like Candyland, and I kind of like that because I actually really like playing board games. But if you think about it, I never want you to be at that commitment stage without ever going through the rest of these steps. And that's because you really want to be prepared. You're putting time into this, you're putting money into this, you're putting so much effort and hard work into this. And there are a lot of people here to help support you. And we don't want you to get discouraged if you do end up going down, a path that maybe you get all the way to the declaring a major and you change your major 2, 3, or 4 times. It's gonna be okay in the long run. I know it may seem overwhelming, and I have students, 3 a.m. sometimes emailing me, I want to change my major again. I realize this isn't what I want to do. And, we have that kind of, okay, take a few breaths. Let's talk about it. What made you want to change? And just to be real with you, I have that kind of conversation with myself at least once a semester when a term paper comes up. So I know that sometimes when you're in the depths of it, it may get really overwhelming of like, do I really want to do this because this final is going to be so hard and I had to pull 3 all-nighters? And in the end, if it really is what you want to do, just know that school is going to be so different from the job and how the job looks. So keeping that in mind, that dream in mind, this is really what I want to do. It's worth the sacrifice now for all those years of work and fulfillment that I'm going to get later on. So just keeping that in mind of, it doesn't always look like school looks. Some of the life applications, I feel if you have a good amount of community involvement, academic study, and practical experience, you are going to be well on your way to finding a career that fits everything that you're looking for, as long as you're staying committed to all 3 of these areas. So as you see, service learning is so great, and I'm so amazed that teachers are still incorporating it because it really does combine all 3. So civic education, I know for the college experience course that Jacob Wartalk teaches, and he works in careers, they do civic education where they have to research nonprofit organizations. Just learning a little bit about your community can always be helpful. Volunteering, I don't know if any of you did Bright Futures hours or have done volunteer work in the past, but I feel Bright Futures is a great way to, they make you volunteer in order to get the scholarship, but the experience I had, and I did mentoring during my Bright Futures, it was just a wonderful experience to give back. And then those internships. So although some of them are required for your courses in order to graduate, internships can be voluntary as well. So even after I finished my volunteer or my internship experiences in my degree, I actually decided to go out and seek an internship on my own. I had been so saturated with doing everything through UF. I worked at the Disability Resource Center, and I worked in the public schools, and they work closely with UF, and it was just all UF. And so I wanted to get some experience at a community college. And so I seeked out an internship that wasn't ever posted. I emailed the coordinator of the organization directly and I said, hi, my name's Jennifer. I'd really love to intern with you. I've done research on your organization. It sounds like something I want to really dive into. And he said, I've never had an intern before, but let's give it a try. So some employers are really willing to let you experience and learn with them. And I think that's what's so great about the college and doing your internship is you're not just paired with someone that you're not necessarily going to meld with. You're going out and researching different organizations and then finding the one that suits what you want to learn about best. So when you're going and talking with these employers, know that you're also kind of interviewing them when they're interviewing you. You're checking out and seeing if it's a good fit for you just as much as they're checking out if you're a good fit for them. So I know a lot of students don't view interviewing and seeking jobs and internships like that, but it really has to be a good fit on both ends. So I'm going to show you a little bit about networking virtually, but a shameless plug of LinkedIn. I love LinkedIn. I can't even tell you how many colleagues that I lost touch with that I've now connected on LinkedIn, and I get to see what they're up to and where they're working and what professional development that they've been working on. I also get a lot of insider information from some of the top companies. So you're learning it is sort of a news outlet in its own way. So companies are updating on the latest trends, and there's a lot of really useful articles that I read on there. I get a lot of good stuff from even some of my colleagues at the college that I'm connected with on LinkedIn. So I find out about new events and things that are happening all on one site, and I just can't speak about it enough. I love LinkedIn. But I am going to talk about Handshake a little. We just recently rebranded. We're Hire SPC Titans, powered by Handshake. But just know, since you are transferring to USF, you're going to use the same exact job platform. It's just called Handshake instead of Hire SPC Titans. So don't want you guys to get confused about that. It's really the same thing. It's just under a little bit of a different umbrella. So I think I might have to stop sharing in order to share. Okay, perfect. So I want to be able to click these different tabs, but it's not. Okay. So can you also see my screen? Okay,
Yes.
great. Thank you. So when you log into your student login, it's really easy. So from the student homepage, you're just going to click on Hire SPC Titans. That's it. So we made it really easy, a lot easier than Focus 2 to get to. So I'm just going to show you my profile first and foremost. I feel it's really important to kind of showcase this. If you already have a LinkedIn account, or if you've used LinkedIn before, if you're somewhat familiar with the platform, it has a lot of similar aspects. So you can fill in your journey here and put a little bit about your introduction, and pretty much it's like an about me, but more of a professional about you. You can list your education. So SPC will already come up when you go to create your profile. You can put in your other places that you're going to attend or have attended. And then here you can have all your different work experiences. So I only have 3 work experiences in here, but I could add more if I wanted to put in different things. You can put in some of the courses that you've taken, the organizations and extracurricular activities that you've been a part of, and even projects that you've worked on. So you can also upload your resume and it will automatically fill some of that information for you. So that's just something else you can do, and then editing a photo and things like that. So there's different categories up in the upper left-hand corner: jobs, events, Q&A. The main 2 you're going to be using are jobs and events. So what's great is there's so many different filters that you can filter through. So location, whether you want a full-time job, and if I clicked both of these, then only full-time jobs and internships would come up, for example, and part-time and on-campus jobs wouldn't come up. So if I wanted to say I wanted to get a job as an advisor, let's see what comes up. I didn't put a location. Maybe I should put Tampa and see if that happens. So as you can see, it doesn't get as specific because all I put was advisor. So what comes up? Financial advisor, right? Then if I look at more, you can see that more things come up here. Things that are similar but not the same. Every semester starting in this past fall, we did our first virtual job and internship fair. We had about 135 students and 26 employers. And I will tell you, not enough students took advantage. There were employers that were ready to hire from that career fair, that internship fair. They really were eager to hire students, get students started in internships. And we had a few students I know that either followed up with employers or plan on at least interning with some of those employers. So there was some success at the virtual fair. I know this can seem a little bit scary because all you're doing is interacting on a camera with someone for either 10 to 30 minutes, and that's how you're setting that first impression. Just know they're learning the platform too, along with you. And so if you do have, some technical errors, we're here to help. Handshake, I know, has some really good support on hand. So we always do, or at least this past semester, we had a mock fair. And so the week before, we usually do a prep where we help you test out your equipment and everything. So that way you feel a little more at ease about it. So you can see there's on-campus interviews and events. This is what you're going to want to click if you do want to attend a career fair specifically. Obviously, there's nothing up now, but there will be the career fair that comes up once we've uploaded it for next semester. But since it already passed, it's not in here anymore. I did want to click to show you one other thing. Okay, so this is the Q&A section. So this is where you can ask questions specifically to employers, and there are employers that are really on here that will answer some of your questions. So I find that really great. And you can also message employers through here as well. Before I move on, I know that was a lot of information. Did anyone have questions about Hire SPC Titans? Awesome. Okay. If you do, you can type them in the chat. I can't see them right now, but I'll definitely, or you can email me if you want to ask me a more like one-on-one question. Okay. Now we're going to shift gears a little bit. I'm going to talk about our career services page. Our career services page definitely needs a little bit of cover, I will say, but I feel that what needs to be showcased on here is definitely apparent. So all of our events that are always happening, if you just Google SPC Career Services, this will be the first link to pop up. So all of our events are here that we host. We usually do workshops on Wednesdays, so just be looking out for those. We have a blog, and this is the most underutilized tool I think we have. We post a blog every 2 weeks on WordPress. So say essential skills for the virtual world. I wanted to view that blog. That looked interesting to me, right? And so it'll tell you about skills that you need. The 7 C's of communication. Well, what are those? Let's read up on it. Time management, technical knowledge, collaboration. So you're constantly able to see those types of things. This career services page, if you do want to apply for an internship for credit, this will be where you do that. There's resume and interview assistance right here, some career exploration here. It will take you to more resources. And then there's even a link for employers to go to if they want to provide jobs and internships, but you need some answers to their questions. This is the best button, I feel, because it has all of our information. So when you contact career services, you can based on your campus. So if you wanted to talk about health programs, I'm not as well versed in health and all the different health programs, but Monica Roberts, oh man, she knows everything about everything. That woman is amazing. She could tell you all about it. You want to know about the police academy, but you don't know where to start? Kerry Carter. He works at the All-State Center. He can definitely help you out. So if you know of the program you want to do and the campus it's based at, making a connection with one of these career professionals at that campus is the most helpful. So if you wanted to do hospitality, for example, you'd get in touch with Teresa. She's the career outreach specialist. She could tell you all about the hospitality field. So some of these are more major specific. And if you don't know who to contact, you can always email me and then I can point you to the right person. All right, that was a lot. I'm proud of you guys. You stuck through it.
Yeah, this whole workshop is a lot.
It's a lot. It's a lot of information in a little time. So if there's questions you had for me and I didn't answer them, seriously, email me. It's no sweat for me to talk with you about any of that stuff I just went over.
Thank you so much, Jennifer. We really appreciate you taking time to
Absolutely.
talk to us today.
Was there anything I didn't cover? I was nervous I would miss something.
No, I think you got everything. I think the most important thing for everyone to take away is that you have us as resources.
Mhm.
You're not going to remember all this at once. We wanted to show you all the steps that you can take while you're at SPC and when you come over to USF, and how all of us can help you through each one of these steps. Does anybody, we got a couple more minutes, does anybody have any questions or concerns, or now we've just overwhelmed you? Nothing? I don't see anything in the chat.
Ask you later about your EDD. Because,
Me?
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Oh man, the PhD life. It is.
Yeah.
It's interesting. Every day's different. Especially online, and I just started, so that's. I'm with all you that are online right now, and you're just doing the hybrid or the synchronous or the asynchronous. It is hard. It's hard to stay motivated, and I commend each and every one of you. That is amazing that you're doing it and you're pushing through. So we recognize all the hard work you're doing.
Definitely. But I also agree. I think that at some point you're going to say, I went through college during COVID, and that's going to mean a lot because it really does take skills that you typically wouldn't need to get through all this. So you will, in the long run, you'll be stronger and more organized and have your time management down. The only thing I wanted to add is I just wanted to challenge everybody to, like, within the next week or so, ask 3 people you know, your parents, neighbors, friends' parents or something, what their degree was in and what their job is and what they would do differently if they could do it over again. And I just think that you're going to learn a lot from those answers. And if you could shoot one of us if you could shoot me an email or something. I mean, I know you've got plenty of emails from me. You could just do it and just let me know your thoughts on what you find out. Because I really think, I think you're going to find most people studied one thing and then went into another direction, but there's a whole story there that helped them prepared for what they are today. And take that as encouragement. If you're not sure what you want to do, or if you're not sure how to get to what you want to do, you have all of us to fall back on as support.
I think one of the most important pieces of advice I ever got was, just because you're good at it, it doesn't mean you have to make it your career. So a lot of times people will try to just pair you with your skills, and that is completely missing the mark. I have so many friends that, oh, math's really easy for me, so I became an accountant. They became an accountant and they hate their life. So, and some people love numbers and that excites them, and they're just so happy to tax season comes around and they're like the Energizer Bunny and they love it. But if they're just good at it and they don't have that desire, the two have to meld. They have to go together, or else you're completely going to miss the mark on your career. And so, David White always asks the question, is it a big M or a little M? Does money matter to you, or does money matter to you? And so, taking that into consideration too, because I know some people are really, focused on, they want to make 6 figures. They want to make it right off the bat. And that is the most priority to them, even if they don't like what they're doing. But just know that will weigh eventually, even if it doesn't weigh in the beginning.
Mm-hmm. And that's fine. I think it's really understanding Is that really important or isn't it? And for some people it is, and for some people it's not. And there's no right or wrong. It's just you just have to understand that falls under like your values. What is your priority?
Exactly. So a lot of people will go and they'll learn the business and they'll kind of, understand the ins and outs of it, and they maybe make a lot of money, maybe they don't make much money, and then they go out and they do the same thing on their own. They go and they become entrepreneurs. So that's a big trend I've seen with a lot of students of you have to go and work for a company and know the ins and outs of it before you go and do it yourself. So
absolutely. All right. Well, thank you so much, Jennifer. It was great having you with us today. I'm sure we'll be calling you again.
Absolutely.
And all of you students, it was so great for you to join us today. It's just good to see you. I hope you have a really great Thanksgiving. If nothing else, get some rest and stay safe. If you haven't met one-on-one with your PATHe counselor, please reach out to make that appointment. We want to see everybody before the Thanksgiving break. So, and then feel free to follow up with anything that we talked about today with any of us, because that's what we're here for. All right. All right. Well, enjoy the rest of your week, and we'll see you soon. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you. You guys too.
Thank you.